Hello, I'm Sheriff Grady Judd. I've spent my entire adult life in law enforcement, and I have never heard of one law enforcement agency not helping another when they call for help until this weekend, when a chief of patrol for the Chicago Police Department instructed the police officers not to run in and help their colleagues who were calling for help, who were under attack by a bunch of people clearly violating the law.
I want you to watch this.
In the middle of the night, hundreds of armed federal agents and police, backed up by riot trucks, smoke grenades, and helicopters, breached fences and busted doors in an immigration raid on an entire apartment building on the city's south side. They pulled dozens of residents from their homes and zip ties, including children, some of them without any clothes. They then held some outside for hours and dragged the others into rented vans.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other.
That wasn't some foreign capital. That wasn't some foreign city. That was Chicago, Illinois.
My first reaction was that this is a good thing. I think that the governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago the way that we need.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America. That's right. He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
Mayor of Chicago with his woke identity politics, putting women before men when referring to first responders and volunteers who put their lives on the line, and talks about the destabilization of urban farmers and compares them to funded Ukrainian refugees in the middle of a war that his own party started. Where is the talk about the destabilization of Chicago's urban neighborhoods, upended by illegals flocking to sanctuary cities that only end up putting law-abiding citizens on the back burner and in harm's way? Crime, assault, theft, robbery, armed robbery, rape, murder, homicide, you name it, BJ. Oh, and don't even get me started on the bounties for the hit jobs put out on ICE agents. You want to talk about being at risk for volunteering? Give me a fucking break.
Breaking news that we're following this afternoon. A high-ranking member of a street gang is charged with putting a hit out on a senior law enforcement official involved with Operation Midway Blitz.
They're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them.
Police arrested 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez this morning. And according to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Chicago, Martinez sent a Snapchat message stating, quote, $2K on information when you get him and $10K if you take him down. The Tribune reports the alleged target was Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino.
Chicago, Illinois, being attacked, a whole apartment building by ICE agents, some descending from Black Hawk helicopters, others battering down doors. It involved zip tying children, some of them terrified and naked and screaming. This was happening in an American city. And now the president is threatening to make it even worse. He's threatening to call in and has called in the National Guard to descend on cities like Chicago, like Portland, just as he did in Los Angeles, and is threatening other cities like San Francisco.
We're going to make Chicago really great again, and we're going to stop this crime. Then we're going to go to another one, and we're going to go city by city. We're going to have safe cities.
Let's be clear. Using the National Guard this way is illegal. It is unlawful. It cannot be done consistent with our law and Constitution. You cannot use military force for domestic law enforcement purposes. You cannot use it in the means in which the Trump administration is continuing to use it and threatening to deploy it elsewhere. The playbook was Los Angeles. We saw this earlier this year in Los Angeles. The deployment of California's own National Guard over the objection of the governor, over the objection of the mayor of Los Angeles, used against our own citizens. It was struck down by a lower court, although that lower court order was held in abeyance by the Supreme Court of the United States. And now that misuse of the military is being used elsewhere.
Careful what you say there, Adam Schiff, about our own citizens claiming you're a resident of California. Oh, wait. No, because you have two primary residences, right? Isn't that what you're being formally investigated and subpoenaed for? Is mortgage fraud?
The crime has dropped since 2024. Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No, not at all. No, especially with the police being defunded.
That's scary. Let me give you the antithesis of that. We had a single man resist ICE agents and get away from them in our community. We sent a helicopter, a drone, K9, and 50 law enforcement officers to surround an area, and we found that guy who violently resisted ICE, and we locked him up in jail where he should have been. If you allow anarchists and criminals to run wild in your community, people will die. People will be shot.
Chicago can be very, very safe. It's going to be very safe. But Chicago is going to be very safe. And you say, why is it that a governor wouldn't accept free help from regardless? I mean, whether it's National Guard or the military or anybody. I mean, if women raped and beaten and knocked to hell, and the same with men where they're being shot all over the place in large numbers. I mean, we had a week in Chicago where 11 people were murdered and 38 people were shot. And then we have a governor get up and say, oh, it's safe, we can handle it. He can't handle it. He's an incompetent guy. That's why they threw him out of the family business. They threw him out. I knew the family business very well. And they threw him out. And now he's a governor. And he should say, we'd love to have a safer place. Chicago's a great city potentially. You know, I told you, the head of the Union Pacific Railroad said, sir, save Chicago. It's a great city. It's going to be lost if you don't do it. We have no choice but to do this.
When you look at the DOJ filing, I bring my primary sources when I'm on with Jessica, always. The 169-page DOJ filing requesting an emergency motion to reverse that judge. What you find in it is this. Their legal authority is 10 U.S.C. 12406. They say in two cases, Donald Trump can federalize the National Guard. One case, you're unable to implement the laws of the United States. You cited the laws of the United States. It's immigration law as passed by Congress. Unable to enforce that because ICE agents are being targeted. Number two, you can federalize the Guard if there's a rebellion against the authority of the government. Well, ICE is government. There's a pretty clear rebellion against this authority. Go ask the Dallas ICE agents who were targeted with anti-ICE bullets. This is a rebellion against U.S. government sources. And also what's interesting, you only have to get 10 pages into this lawsuit. Here's what you find, just to add to Jesse's list here. There's someone who wielded a firearm at ICE in Portland. There's an individual, you mentioned the rocks, the sticks. Listen to this. Officers have been bitten kicked, shot with paintballs, threatened with a machete and a knife, and assaulted with potentially blinding lasers. The protesters literally lit a material on fire up against the courthouse, and other protesters threw accelerants on the fire. That's just one fire. There was another fire, too. That one was done with motor oil over the building of Portland ICE. Donald Trump is on strong legal footing. I can't speak to the one federal judge. I think they're going to get reversed. The Ninth Circuit sided with Trump once. I think they'll do it again. You can't be biting ICE officers and lighting their building on fire.
In fact, in Los Angeles, not only were the National Guard not even necessary, not even useful, but the president declared they were successful even before they arrived. And of course, they were taken away from more important missions, like the military mission our Marines have, who were deployed to Los Angeles, or other efforts that the California National Guard ought to be used for, like dealing with natural disasters. This is, of course, part of what the president was talking about when he spoke to generals last week and admirals and told them that he was going to use the military to go after the enemy within, that he was going to use American cities as military training grounds. And looking at that footage from Chicago tells you exactly what he was talking about. And of course, it's not just those real scenes from Chicago, it's this video, this obscene, highly stylized, Hollywood-looking produced video put out by Kristi Noem portraying the events in Chicago. You would think watching that video, you were watching a scene out of Black Hawk Down, that this was a rescue attempt in Somalia, but no, that was in Chicago. Now, what are we doing about this? What can be done about this rampant illegality that is causing so much harm?
All right, y'all, let's hit pause for a second because this matters and it's really important. We talk a lot on this channel about taking control of your life, making smart choices, and not letting the system overwhelm you. But when it comes to navigating Medicare, it can feel like you're wading through a swamp of total confusion. Plans, coverage, costs, deadlines, you name it. And that's where Chapter steps in. They're not just another company. They're the real deal when it comes to free Medicare help. Chapter's team of advisors has helped thousands of people across the country find the right Medicare plan, and they do it with one goal in mind, putting you first. No fees, no pressure, just honest guidance to make sure you're covered without breaking the bank. Big insurance companies have their own agendas, but Chapter's got your back, fighting to get you the plan that works for you. So if you're approaching Medicare age or helping a loved one figure it out, don't go it alone. Call Chapter today at 270-467-2426 and start getting the clarity you deserve. Because at the end of the day, protecting your health and your wallet, well, that's not just smart. It's living life on your terms.
Now, let me say this. For other law enforcement leaders across this state and nation, you need to be standing up saying the same exact thing that I am. Because when you have a breakdown of the rule of law, when you allow anarchists, criminals to take over the streets and attack law enforcement officers and then not send them help, that's a slippery slope, a real slippery slope.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? it's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you.